All right, good evening there, Twitch, and welcome back to Mission Control. Now, unfortunately, things don't always go according to plan, especially not in the world of live robot missions. Now, last night, after 2 or 3 weeks, probably 3 weeks of continuous re-engineering effort, we sent SOLARBOI back out into the wild. As you recall, if you were there, basically we did a whole host of upgrades. We put on a fisheye lens on the camera. We put on more headlights. We moved the camera to a better position, back on the robot so we could actually see more of where we were going, as well as what the robot itself was actually doing. We put on a lens heater. We put on better 4G antennas. We did all this work. We set out last night. We drove 2 full kilometers. Maybe even 2.2 if you were counting along. We got to the parking area we wanted to get to, and we were very glad to be there. We were really glad to be there. Couldn't believe how well it went. We had a couple of scary moments. Nearly fell in the ravine again. Yes, guys, yes, yes, we are on the trail, safe and sound. Now I got to drive nice and straight. Oh my God. F's in the chat for SOLARBOI. We did it. We got on the trail. We didn't fall in the bloody ravine, but we dodged around it. We had video troubles all night, I think, because I was trying a new streaming method for the video feed from the robot, which isn't quite working that well. Tried all these things, but most of the upgrades worked really well. Most of the upgrades really did kick ass. We had a way better view of where we were driving. We could actually see where we were going thanks to the extra infrared lights. Unfortunately, we didn't run into any cats, any dogs, but, that's fine. They didn't bother us, and we didn't bother them. So, you're listening to this, and you're probably thinking, wow, this sounds like an unmitigated success, and look, at the time, I honestly thought it was. Now, the problem is, yesterday, I woke up at 7 a.m., to get the robot ready because I knew we had a window. Today, yesterday, and Sunday are basically the only sunny days in our deployment area for the next 7, 8, 9 days. So I thought I'll drop it on Thursday, we'll drive it, we'll recharge Friday, we'll drive it some more, we'll re-drive it more even again on Sunday, we'll have a great weekend, and then we can leave the robot to charge up until the rain stops. So I was rushing. I woke up Thursday morning, 7 a.m., bam, 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 whipping the robot together, getting it all tied up. Really, I should have had another week, but, I wanted to get this window. 20 minutes before I was to leave to deploy the bot, the GPS failed. So I had to rush out. I had to ring Grandma and be like, look, Grandma, I'm going to be late. Don't make dinner for me. I'll be up late. Rush out, buy a new GPS, install that, donk. Basically, install a new GPS, get up to Grandma's house, deploy the robot, rush home, slamming Red Bull the whole time. That's how we slam Red Bull. Jumped on the stream. We had a great time. And you'll remember, those of you that were there, that at about 2 a.m., my mind was basically gone. That last 20 minutes, I was not really there at all. We drove 2 kilometers last night, and because I'd been up all day just grinding away, engineering, I don't know why I keep doing this, but anyway. By the time we got to the end of the stream, I wasn't quite with it, and we got to the parking area, and hey there, Tully, and we got to the parking area, and I went down a little embankment, went down a little hill. I actually need to stop in the next 10 to 15 minutes. I am just exhausted. I can't think straight right now. Wow! We finally did it, guys! I am sweating. I am thirsty. I need to pee like mad. But that is a beautiful photo of the night sky. That is our parking spot for SOLARBOI. I think I might have got distracted. I might have driven us off into something. We got stuck. We're trying to rev up, trying to move the robot so we could get to a better parking spot. And the batteries were sagging to 6 volts, and we thought, okay, we're trying our best, but we're probably stuck here. And then the batteries died completely. Well, they kind of did. So, if you remember, and if you watch back the stream, the drive battery goes to 0 on the graph, which we normally have up here. The drive battery goes to 0. And so we think, oh, the batteries are dead. But because I was out of it, because I was so tired, I wasn't thinking clearly. I tried a couple times to like fire up the traction batteries again so we could get moving, but it just wasn't working. What I didn't realize is the infrared lights run off the same battery. They run off the drive battery, and they were still powered. And this is where it gets interesting. So think about this. The robot's saying, look, I've got no drive battery. I've got 0 volts. The motors aren't working. The servos aren't working. Everything on the traction, controlled by the traction relay, doesn't work. But the infrared lights that are connected to the same battery are working fine. They're switching on and off on their own relay okay. Now, had I been fresh-minded, real sharp, I probably would have caught this. But alas, I was spent. Didn't know what was going on. So after flicking on and off the relays a bunch, we decided, look, we're in a decent spot. We'll park here. We'll charge up. Then we come to 10 a.m. this morning. I slept in, as you could expect. And instantly, my heart rate went up. I was not in a good mood. Because I could see the robot hadn't woken up at 3 a.m., hadn't woken up at 5 a.m. as it's supposed to, hadn't woken up at 8. It had missed a bunch of wake-ups, so I was real stressed out. I thought maybe it's just in an area with not very much signal, so maybe that's a problem. Eventually, I got it, and things just get worse from here. So midday comes, I get in touch with the robot, and it just doesn't go well. It doesn't go well at all. So basically, I get in touch with the robot, and it's kind of talking to me, but it's being a bit slow. It's being a bit hazy. We're in a bad coverage area, but it's kind of half working. And so then I try to reboot the robot. And this was an absolute mistake. I should not have tried to reboot the robot, but I did. I thought, oh, yeah, I can do this. I'll just reboot the robot, try and take a photo during the day, see where we are, get my bearings, see if we can drive tonight. That's the first thing I tried to do. And I accidentally ran the wrong camera script, canceled the camera script, crashed the camera, so I tried to reboot. And then the robot stops responding. It doesn't update the boot log. It doesn't say oh, hey, I've rebooted or anything. It just doesn't respond. And so I'm like, the hell is going on? Robot just doesn't respond. And then I realize I can ping it, but I can't actually give it any commands. I can't log in on SSH. I can't log in on VNC. So the robot's there. It's on the VPN. And I told it to I powered up, I got in touch, said, stay on for a while, I'm going to do some work, rebooted it, and then it's tried to reboot, but it didn't fully shut down. And so what that meant is, with the way the robot's coded with the power management, if I log into the robot and say, hey, stay on, we're driving or we're doing stuff, it won't turn off until the battery runs out, in which point it has a battery save routine. So I'm like, it's sunny today. I need to run this battery down. We still had 7.6 volts on the communication battery. And I couldn't reboot the robot. It's trapped in this horrible zone where I can't do anything about it. So I'm like, okay. Thanks for the follow there, Alan Pernant. So I'm like, the robot's trapped. I can't power it down. And the power management controller isn't going to power it down until it gets to 6.3 volts. We're at 7.6 and it's sunny today. We're screwed. What are we going to do? And so I'm not feeling great. I can't do anything. So I give up. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go visit the robot. Maybe I can just quickly short circuit the battery and it'll reboot and come back online and then it'll be fine. And that I'd already resigned myself that was kind of ruining the mission because SOLARBOI is meant to go out and be on his own and charge up with the sun and not have someone holding his hand going out to work on him every day. Because if you're going to go out to the robot and fix it up every leg of the mission, then you might as well just take it home to charge. There's no need for a solar panel. He's not an independent rover. He's just a remote control car. So forget that. But I couldn't get in touch with it. I didn't want to wait 6 weeks for 6 days for the battery to run out and reboot. And I'm really glad I went up there. So I'm mucking around with it. I can't get the robot to reboot. I run into my grandparents and we're like, okay, let's take him back to the workshop. Let's see what's gone wrong. Let me see if I have the image here. So because I'd actually tried earlier, the one thing I tried to run the battery down faster, and this is really stupid, is I tried to basically ping, because that was all I could do. All I could do to the robot was I could ping it. It couldn't log in, couldn't do anything more. So I decided to like ping it 1,000,000 times, hoping that the extra load on the network card would run the battery down. That didn't work. So, you know, I went up there and decided to try and reboot it. That didn't work. So we took it back to the workshop. So at this point, you know, we've given up. You know, it's not happening. We're not driving today. So we go back to the workshop. And just nothing is working. You know, I disconnect the battery, reconnect it, reboot it, and it eventually connects, but it's not giving me any kind of voltage reading for the traction battery. It's just not playing ball in a lot of different ways. It's kind of connected to the network, but nothing's right. Even the voltage for the CPU battery is wrong. Like, I measure the CPU battery with the multimeter, it shows me 7.5 volts, but the robot's telling me 5.9. All right, yeah. So the robot exists. There, Citrix. Like, nobody's stolen it, but you know, it's with us in the workshop, and so we eventually reboot it by disconnecting and reconnecting the battery, and nothing's making sense. Like, it's reporting these ridiculous voltages for the CPU battery, like 5.9, even though I can measure the battery is clearly 7.4 volts. It won't do anything with the traction battery. So I'm like, all right, we got to take this whole thing apart. So I'm ripping the top off. First thing we do is we get in there and we see this. Now, you have to look very closely. Just next to that red circuit board is the blue circuit board. You guys can't see my mouse pointer, but at the base of the blue circuit board is a socket. I wonder if I can actually magnify this. We'll make it as big as possible. Just down in there is basically the blue circuit board, which is our power management controller. It's an Arduino. Yeah, you see it there, Pi Master. It's popped out of the socket. All the vibration and driving has basically worked our power controller out of the socket. It should be more attached. Now, I will tell you this. You think this is the whole problem? Oh, no, honey. This is the start of the problems. So this kind of explains to me why we've got no traction battery measurement, because the power controller is sitting half out of the socket. I'm surprised it even managed to power up the robot. Thankfully, the other side that actually has the I/O pin for that is better connected. But that's bad. So definitely what we realized from this, as Citrix says, glue, or we need a better attachment method to hold down that chip in the socket, hold down that board in the socket, because that power management board is like the heart of SOLARBOI. That's what makes him capable of doing what he does, going out there and charging up during the day and driving at night. So I reseat that, but we still have problems. Now, one thing you'll learn about these blue circuit boards, this is an Arduino Pro Micro, and we're just going to put this back on our main screen because we're totally at mission control. Yeah, I could hardwire it Ultra Scheiben, and welcome back, by the way. But sort of the problem is, like, the more you hardwire this stuff, if you have, like, you know, so let's say I had a hardwired this, the Arduino in there, right at the start of the project, that would have cost me probably 3 days work to rebuild the entire board the first time I blew up the Arduino. And I blew up 3 or 4 Arduinos. And this one, so I reseed it, and I think that's going to solve the problem, right? No, this is actually, it's not even a real Arduino Pro Micro, it's a knockoff. And the problem with these knockoffs is, I don't know why, but I've had about 5 or 6 of them this year. When you mess with them, when you mess with these Arduino Pro Micros, these knockoff ones with the blue PCB, not the official SparkFun one, the regulator on board does weird things. So I've had a bunch that put out 6.57 volts instead of 5 volts. Now that can blow up your other, equipment. That can blow up your attached USB device. No, the power doesn't backflow through USB, but it can blow up other peripherals you attach. And it caused a lot of problems because that voltage from the regulator is the reference voltage. So that's why those of you that were following the voltage chart on Twitter saw the CPU battery go down to 5.9 volts. It was never at 5.9 volts. It was the Arduino regulator crapping out, flipping out, going up to 6.5 volts, and so it's misreading the voltage of the drive battery. So that Arduino is going in the bin because we're going back to one I used in the initial mission. This is another knockoff Arduino Pro Micro, and if I hold it up very close, you can see it has a 7805 regulator attached. So I basically ripped off the original regulator on the board, which was going haywire, putting out 7 volts, and I put on a bona fide, guaranteed good 7805 regulator on the board, and that's held on with super glue. So that's going back in. We're going to zip tie this power management board down, and that should hopefully solve the problem. I see a lot of great suggestions in the chat. Yeah, I would be less of a tight ass, but these boards, so these cost $10, these knockoff ones. If I buy the official SparkFun one, it's $35. I can kind of afford that once, and I probably will buy one for SOLARBOI too, but like, damn, that's expensive, and it would take 60 days to ship. So yeah, I love the suggestions in the chat. A cable tie or some glue gun, something's going in there to stop that vibrating out. But now we're still in the workshop, and even with this plugged back in properly, try as I might, I cannot get the Raspberry Pi to properly engage the traction power system. It just won't engage the traction relay properly. And then so I open it up and I look, and I can see the LED on the traction relay is actually coming on, and I can hear it clicking. Now, the fact that I have the tower of power disassembled in my hand here will tell you that that relay wasn't any good. Now, I'm going to show you this relay. And I appreciate the kind comments in the chat. I am very glad that I did go out there today, because had I left it out there for 6 days waiting to see what happened, I wouldn't have had a good result at the end of it because it was broken anyway, and more likely somebody would have stolen it. But yeah, here's the relay. I'm going to show you guys the relay. Now, what I thought had happened, and this is the relay with the top taken off, because I had a theory. My theory was that... Oh, I can't tell you the theory, so we got to jump back a little bit. By the way, welcome to the 11 viewers. We're having a rundown of everything that went wrong with SOLARBOI after the mission. So what we've basically, as a recap, the first things first, the Arduino power manager fell out of its socket. That caused us some issues with voltage monitoring, but it wasn't actually the whole problem. So, with the Arduino reseated, we're trying to get the traction system on, trying to spin the motors, trying to move the servos, figuring out what's going wrong. The Raspberry Pi powers up the traction relay, the LED comes on, I hear the relay click, fine. So why isn't the speed controller beeping and coming on? Trying to figure this out. Eventually we pull it out, we measure it. 7.6 volts of power from the traction battery is getting to the center pin of the relay, but the output pin is 2 volts. That's not supposed to happen. Now that tells me that our relay has gone high resistance. That's what that tells me. The problem is, what I did is I'm like, okay, what I think I have to do to work with that is, what's probably happened is, after turning this relay on and on and on a million times, on and off and on and off and on and off, because the speed controller has a high inrush current, what I think happens is you get sparks when this relay turns on and off, because it's basically a switch, and you get a little spark. So I'm thinking, okay, we didn't have a pre-charge system on the relay, so turning on and off the speed controller built up a whole bunch of carbon, will have ruined the relay. Great. So I get home, and literally 15 minutes before this stream started, I'm ripping this relay apart. And I have it here, and you can see a photo on the screen. Doesn't actually look that bad. So the contacts are those tiny little dots. It's that tiny little dot on the right, and it's that tiny little dot on the left, and I'll show you up real close. It doesn't actually look that bad. Now that pisses me off. That pisses me off a lot, because if I open this relay up and it was full of carbon and melted and sparky, I'd be like, okay, great, Theory confirmed, you fucked up. You didn't put a pre-charge on your ESC line. Your relay packed up after 100 bloody, on-offs. Fuck you, TK. You should, get lost. What has really pissed me off is that I've opened this relay up and it looks, there's a little bit of wear, but it's pretty fresh. I am going to cut up another one, like the IR relay, which was still working fine, connected to the same battery. See if maybe that one is worse. Or maybe something else happened. One thing I will say, though, that I need to do as well is I need to dig deeper, because while the contacts look fine, underneath this relay, underneath the base that I haven't actually cut into yet, a mil-spec version might be better. Underneath that relay, in the base of it, there's a line from the common switch contact. So the way this works is power comes into the common contact of the relay, and then when we switch on the traction relay, it connects the common contact to the normally open contact and sends the voltage out to the speed controller. I buzz this out on the bench. There's no current getting through anymore between the between the common point and the inside of the relay. So the contact inside the relay and the common point on the PCB, there's no conduction there. So I've got to take apart the relay more. The problem may not actually be the contacts wearing out. The problem may actually be we may have overcurrented the relay. Keep in mind, when this actually cut out finally on the stream, we were hammering the throttle. We were like, we were trying to get unstuck. So maybe what happened is maybe this relay actually can't handle the motor. I estimate the motor current draw could actually be like 10, 15 amps. I think these are only rated for like 8, 9, 10. So if that's the case, that's really annoying, because then it means I got to go and get a bigger relay. The number one thing that would have stopped SOLARBOI going any further is the traction relay that died. The traction relay died, would no longer conduct power from the batteries to the traction system. That's why you saw the drive battery voltage go to 0, because that's monitored on the traction relay. Very funny, C-Trix. Yeah, that is our current issue. But the traction relay dying basically cut power to the motors, cut our drive power monitoring. That's why SOLARBOI could not have gone any further. So that's what killed us. B problem is the Arduino popping out of the socket for power management. That probably didn't help us in terms of, keeping the robot to its power schedule. That would have killed us within a few days anyway, because the solar power and the timed wake-up system would have gone haywire. So those really are the two big problems. Mechanically, the platform actually went okay. The GPS worked okay. Everything else worked okay. The camera was much improved. I do have some more work to do on the video stream. I can make that better. I actually think that even though this camera was better, I think the old streaming settings I used to use were better, because I used to be able to drive continuously. Babel and Foclips, why not use MOSFETs? I tried using MOSFETs that was actually what I tried first before relays. I had a lot of problems because when I used the MOSFET to switch the Raspberry Pi and the ESC. The problem is when I was using the MOSFET to switch the Raspberry Pi on, I was using the MOSFET to switch power to a regulator. Did not work well. Because when you try to use it's beyond my pay grade. It's electrical engineering. I do a lot of electronics, but I don't do it at this level. When you try to switch on a regulator with a MOSFET, you switch the MOSFET off to try and cut power to the regulator that runs the Raspberry Pi, and then the regulator's like, no, give me ground, and it does weird shit, and it never turns off properly. You need like a proper bang off disconnect that you only get with a relay or with a solid state relay. You can't switch a regulator with a MOSFET. And because the ESC has a regulator in it, it gets messy. Like, there's ways you can do it, but it ends up being like a 600 like 7 or 8, 9, 10 components when a relay, is actually built to do this. So why not use a relay? And the thing, like, a relay is the right choice for this job. It just may need a pre-charge circuit, and it may need to be a bigger relay. Here's the thing. So I'm glad we're all on the same page here. Here's the thing. We have tried the same route and the same mission 3 times now. Now, we did have that great moment where we got past our previous milestone. We made it to the parking area. We died at the parking area. Do we want to do the same mission? Do we want to mix it up? I like doing the same mission because I really love the route we've picked out. It's a perfect testing ground. Like the mission I have planned, I know the route. I know what's beyond where we've gone. Yeah, I think you guys are thinking the same thing as me. We do want to do the same thing. I feel like it will probably be a bit like when we get back out there, the first night is probably going to be a bit... It's for those of us that have been doing this, I think it's going to be like more of the same, but I think it means we can relax and we kind of know where it's going to be. And I think for the new people that join the stream then, I think for them, it'll be a good introduction. And I think it'll mean as well, we'll all be really excited for night 2. Yeah. We do have to beat World 1 before we can move to World 1 too. Plus Shackleton. We do want to meet Shackleton again. Realistically, especially after opening this, I don't think that pre-charge is going to solve it. I think I need to have a bit more to think about it. I don't want to rush it. Plus, I actually need to do my job. I need to earn some money because I took most of this week off to do robot stuff. But yeah, I think we'll leave it there for today. So thanks so much for tuning in for the new stream. Follow me on Facebook, What Up TK here, Twitter, and of course the Discord link. And but yeah, primarily Facebook is that center point of reference. And fundamentally, get keen for the next mission. And also, of course, YouTube. Thanks, Epic Popsicle. Yeah, YouTube is also, I post updates there as well. Till next time, guys, thanks a lot. I'm going to rest. I'm going to enjoy my weekend. I'm going to go back to work next week. And in my downtime, I will be spattering like crazy as we do on this channel to get SOLARBOI ready for you and the rest of the world to achieve this mission. Thanks a lot, guys. TK out.